Welcome back, everyone. Well, you know, this year we at Look TV had the privilege of heading up into the Adirondacks to do a video for the Adk Museum. Now, I know many of you have heard about it, but you have to go. You just cannot believe what this campus is like and how rich in history it is. So we invited the marketing director down, Todd Happer, and since they have an event coming up this Saturday that features artists from the Adirondacks, we asked Todd to bring along one of the artists, and that would be Julie Leninger. So welcome, both of you. Yes. Nice to have you here. And Todd, let's before we show some of your work, Julie, let's talk about the Adk Museum. If you can, a lot of our viewers know about it, but how about just a little quick history on it?
Sure. Well, it's a fascinating story. It started about 1860. Some guys from Connecticut bought sight unseen thousands of acres. They thought they were going to run a logging operation. And after about 5 years of that, they found out that they were actually making more money renting rooms in the logging camp to people that were coming up from the city to go hunting. Wow. And eventually they brought their families, and so they needed a little bit nicer place to stay. And so the owners built a hotel, and it operated from the 1870s until about early 1950s, when it became a museum. They decided to take that land and build a museum building and start collecting the physical things that tell the story of how the Adirondacks have happened over time.
Right. Now, you know, I mentioned, when I was describing the museum, I mentioned that it's a campus.
Yes.
And tell us why it's a campus.
Well, it's funny, for somebody who's worked in museums his whole life, it's usually one building. Often there's columns out front. This is a lot more like a university. There's buildings everywhere. There's a lot of contemporary modern buildings, and then there's a lot of historic structures. And then there's historic structures that have been moved from someplace else. So you walk through this campus and these beautiful grounds and beautiful gardens, and there'll be a 25,000 square foot building all about transportation in the North Country. And over here there'll be maybe an outhouse from somebody's great camp from 100 years ago. And then there'll be another brand new contemporary building that's got boats from throughout the Adirondacks. So you just kind of meander your way very leisurely. It's pretty much, it's a nice 6-8 hour experience to make your way through.
It totally is. You know, I've been there a number of times, and when we were shooting the video, I was just like reliving it all over again. Yeah. And you know, Todd brushes past these buildings that, you know, he just says transportation, but you're talking about the private cars that the Vanderbilts and the Whitneys had to take them from Albany. Remember, you just didn't hop on the Northway back then. You had quite a traverse, right? Yes. There were boats involved, and there were lakes involved, and there were railroads involved.
A lot of horses.
A lot of horses, that's right. You can see this video, by the way, on Look TV every day, and also on our website and on the Adk Museum website. All right, but Todd, we have an event coming up this Saturday that I know our viewers would like to know about. Tell us about it.
It's a pretty cool event. It's the first time we've done it. We have many events that we do every year, and they're very popular. But this new event is called Made in the Adirondacks. And what we're trying to do is provide a showcase for all the artisans and artists and craftspeople and the things that they make in their houses and their small shops that are really inspired by living around all this beauty.
Hence the lovely lady sitting next to you. Again, this is Julie Leninger. I got it right, didn't I?
Yes.
Good, that's perfect. Julie has a company called Saratoga Jewels. Tell us first about the switch on the name, because I found that kind of interesting.
Oh, all my friends when I growing up, they would call me Jules.
Right.
I didn't make jewelry back then, so I kind of just fell into it, and I live right around Saratoga, so Saratoga Jewels was fitting. And that was born about 2006 is when I started that business.
And you started your worldly career as an engineer?
Yes, I grew up in the
How'd
Adirondacks.
you make that jump from an engineer to
I
an
grew up in
artist?
the Adirondacks in Newcomb, New York, and I was always inspired by nature, and so I became an environmental engineer and to protect nature. And I always liked working with my hands, and nature inspired me, so I started doing that part-time on the side. I bought a book, and it went from there, and 2 years ago I decided to retire from engineering and do it full-time.
Now, the reason that Julie retired from engineering, you're about to see, is that her work is magnificent. I mean, it's one thing to be an engineer and decide you want to make jewelry, but it's another thing if you have the kind of talent that you have. Now look, she showed us so many interesting pieces, but we've got two stills we want to show you to give you a sense of the variety. The first one is 3 pieces here, right, that are obviously inspired from nature. The first one, pine cone-ish, and second
Yep.
one, kind of reeds.
Cattails.
Right, cattails. And the third one, quack, quack.
Yes.
Is there a duck?
Yes, and those are all hand pierced and sawn. So I sketch a design, and then I
Right.
drill little pilot holes, and I use a jeweler's saw, which is a blade like as thick as a piece of paper, and then I saw the designs out by hand.
Got it. Come back to us. Now, those pieces are very indicative of a certain style of necklace that you do.
Yes.
However, Julie, also, and you're wearing some of the
Yes.
jewelry. I wish you could see these bracelets. They're phenomenal.
These
But-
are inspired after water.
Water,
so,
yes.
yeah.
Well, they certainly look that, by the way. But the piece that she's wearing around her neck, which we also have a close-up, yeah, let's get a look at that. This, and we'll talk a bit about this, is a cross-section from a shaving of a rock,
Yes.
which happens to be so dangerously close to a nature scene from the Adirondacks, which looks like pine trees and mountains and sky, right?
Yes.
So tell us what's the inspiration behind a piece like this?
Basically, I search for what they call designer cabochons. A cabochon is just a piece of rock that's flat in the back and rounded on the front. And I search through piles of them for years through different gem dealers that I deal with. And when I hold the stone in my hand, if it speaks to me like this one did, this one reminded me of the Adirondacks. It reminded me of a tamarack tree at the marshy end of a lake with the sun setting. And then I use that inspiration to design a setting that complements the piece but doesn't overpower nature's creation.
Wow, so beautifully described, by the way. So if stones speak to you, what language do they speak? I'm just kind of curious.
Usually it's a mixture between Adirondack English and Canadian mixed in because you have that A.
Well, your work is absolutely stunning. Now, you're one of the featured artists this Saturday at
Yes.
the fair.
Yep.
Todd, tell us, other types of art.
Oh, it's so vast. There's a woman who makes perfume and fragrances and soaps from wildflowers that grow in the Adirondacks. There's a gentleman from Glens Falls who does chainsaw carvings, and not quite what you might think. Some really, he also has a very wide range. There are people who make organic soaps. There's people that have,
And, of course, painting.
and then there's a lot of fine artists who are doing watercolors and oils, and these are all small businesses. These are all people who are pursuing a dream. They're all inspired by the beauty of the wilderness around us, and they're going to be sharing examples of their work. You can buy them. There's small things. There's large collector pieces, but many of them are also going to be doing it in front of visitors and talking with visitors at their different booths about what inspires them, what tools they use. A lot of people learn these skills from their grandparents and great-grandparents and are carrying on several generation traditions. It's going to be a really cool event.
Oh, I know. Music?
There'll be
I
music.
think you mentioned Adirondack music as well, right?
We do. We have 3 performances scheduled from the Blind Owl Band. They're
wow,
a group of
I know
guys
that.
from
That's
Saranac Lake, and they specialize in Adirondack freight train string music. So it's a bluesy, acoustic type thing. And then Bill Smith is a famous Adirondack
right,
storyteller, and he'll be talking about
Boy, can
very
he weave
famous
a
old
tale.
things. Yes.
You know, he really can. He's something. Quite the storyteller.
And we have a lot of stuff planned for kids, a lot of crafts that kind of speak to the artistic process, so they can, and grown-ups can do it too, walk out with a piece of art that they also made themselves. It's going to be a very fun day.
I know, and the weather's going to be great too, which is a real help.
Yeah.
No matter what they say, if the weather's good, it helps. And oh, by the way, since we do have the Northway now, we don't have to go by canoe and by horse and buggy and whatever. Hop on the Northway and get off at exit 23, shoot up Route 28. It's an easy run, and bring the family. You cannot believe what 30 acres of all of this, hundreds of acres with all these 30-something outbuildings there. Every building dedicated to some facet of the Adirondacks, from furniture to boat making to transportation to camping. There's a camping exhibit going on, right?
We do. We have a special exhibit on that. We have a special exhibit with some of the Hudson River schoolmasters and their views of the Adirondacks. There's a photography exhibit from Seneca Ray Stoddard. There's a special exhibition on food traditions in the Adirondack, hunting food, preparing it. And we have a really cool exhibition in the old log hotel. They're acoustical sculptures. An artist who has a camp in Pasico put together these sounds from our archives, 50, 80-year-old sounds, and interwove them with modern sounds of the Adirondacks. Blast at the Barton Mines, what a boat that's rumbling on a lake sounds like, and wove them all together to try and paint a picture of what living is like in the Adirondacks.
You know what, I heard some of this, and it's just remarkable. These people are so talented. You really are. You're so talented. And if that's not enough for you, the view from the deck of Blue Mountain Lake will rip your head off, right? That's one of the most beautiful views in the Adirondacks. I don't know how many miles you can see, but it seems like it's forever.
It really, I think it's one of the most beautiful views in the world.
Yes.
And I've been to a lot of places, and it's so unique, it's so memorable, and it launches 1,000 Facebook posts.
So look, you want to see a video of the Adirondack Museum? Check Look TV out. Every morning we run this video. Every evening, late at night, we run it. It's on our website. It's on their website. And please, carve out some time on Saturday to take a quick run up the Northway. Bring everybody. Bring your family. You will not believe this place, I'm telling you. So thank you both for coming in. Great to meet you.
Thank you.
Great to see you again, Todd.
Good to see you.
To see this interview again, please head to our website, looktvonline.com.